What up, chick?
Did anybody follow you here?
Hell no. Yo, yeah, I'm almost there. Be up in like 30 seconds.
You're so goddamn predictable. Keep that as...
Cause I whooped your ass, Jenard?
Jenard.
Hey, Tommy.
Coast.
Hey, man.
Oh, my God. Oh, fuck. You're gonna be all right, bro.
What's going on YouTube, man? We back at it again this week with another recap and review of Power Book for Force. This week we're on episode 8, man. And man, it went the fuck down this episode, bro. It went completely down this episode, man. With the whole aftermath of what happened to Stacy, Marks, and Tommy, and you know the whole shit that JP and fucking Jenard had going on this episode, man. It was just a lot going on. But man, without further ado, bro, let's go ahead and get into this recap and review of Power Book 4 Force episode 8. So as we starting off the scene, bro, we got Bobby DeFranco, you know, just picking up the pieces of everything that happened with fucking Stacy from last episode when Tommy had shot her. And Bobby ended up finding a phone that was by the tire that Stacy had used, you know, to set the whole meetup, and found the 3 contacts in there and was debating on if he wanted to call them or not. So coming over here to Jenard and Diamond, you know, they talking about everything that transpired on the last episode with the whole fight. And Diamond basically telling Jenard, like, look, I should never let that motherfucker Tommy get so close. Every time he do his own move, it's not a problem. When I do my own shit, it's a problem. And Diamond ended up telling Jenard, like, look, you and Shanti gotta keep that whole couple united front, because you gotta lock this coalition down, and y'all are the motherfucking dream team, you know, to get this whole coalition back to what it was. Now, as we come over here to Che and Tommy, this is the first move he's doing, you know, since he's been alone with him. He's basically telling, you know, Che, look, oh, I'm out of the whole coalition shit, and he basically, you know, giving Che money to get more product. And he told him, like, look, everything that I did with CBI's in this bag right now. And we do know that Che did end up giving, you know, Tommy some product, because he did trust Tommy, you know, in order to move the product with all the shit that Tommy's been doing this whole season. And he told him, you got 24 hours to flip this shit and give it right back to me with the same amount, or I'm gonna kill you and your entire family. So now coming over here to Miguel and his sister, we know they're having a whole talk about Tommy and him needing a whole new partner. And Miguel confessed everything, like, look, you know, the Marquez cartel's after me because of the shit that I did, trying to work with them and take out Tommy. We all know Miguel was not fucking with that, because he told Miguel, like, I thought we had a deal. If anything happened to Tommy, you know, like, we're done. Miguel ended up saying, like, look, nothing happened to him. Everything is going to be cool. And, you know, Miguel ended up putting that offer on the table, like, look, you know, Tommy needs a partner. This is now the perfect opportunity. And we all know Miguel said, look, I'll think about it because I love you, and that's why I end up telling you the truth. Now, coming over here to Jenard and Shanti, you know, Jenard is doing his best impression of a nigga that cheat and try to get his female back. You know, he basically saying, like, look, Tommy set me up and everything, and I didn't mean to do what I did. And, you know, Shanti wasn't fucking with none of Jenard was saying. She basically told that nigga, like, look, Tommy ain't forced you to fuck that bitch or nothing. So, you know, fuck you, I'm gonna just be on my own shit. I ain't fucking with none that y'all got going on. And we know Jenard was pissed the fuck off about that shit. And they'll tell her, like, look, fuck you, bitch. Anything you do ain't gonna be shit without me. Now, as we come over to this nigga saying he is officially the U.S. Attorney of Chicago, you know, this is essentially what he wanted all along, and he's telling everybody, like, look, our main focus is to take down the motherfucker that took out Stacy Marks. And we know Bobby and Sane end up having their own one-on-one conversation, because Bobby ended up giving Sane the phone that he found at the crime scene that was next to Stacy Marks' tire. And we know Sane did end up telling Bobby that, look, I think Vic is in the middle of all this shit, so, you know, you should get some answers from him. And he was gonna end up, you know, letting the field team know about the whole phone and all that shit. And we all know that Bobby was very, very determined on taking this nigga Tommy out. So as we come over here to Vic and Ray, apparently they have a plan to, you know, essentially leave. And Ray was gonna, you know, end up quit her job working with Donna. So then Ray ends up looking at her phone, and she ends up getting the news that Stacy Marks, you know, has been killed. And the first thing that came to Vic's head was Tommy. And Ray ended up calming Vic down, telling him, like, look, good thing you got a DNC employee that, you know, can give you an alibi. You ain't got to worry about nothing like that. So Vic ends up getting a call from Sane and Bobby, you know, just telling him, like, look, we already know everything that's happening and been going on. And, you know, Vic is basically telling these motherfuckers, look, like, I got an alibi. You know, I didn't do this shit. I didn't kill her. And, you know, they're telling him, like, look, we know that you didn't kill her. We just think that Tommy Egan did it. So Bobby ended up telling Vic, like, you know, Tommy is a lone wolf. He got kicked out of CBI last night. You know, this is finally our time to nail this motherfucker. So we need you to come in so we can handle this shit. And I ain't gonna lie, at first, that boy Vic was definitely shook. He was definitely shook at first. And we know Vic ended up telling Ray, like, look, this is my chance. I can finally, you know, get free and out of the ropes from Tommy. So I gotta go through with this. So coming over here to Raheem and Shanti, Raheem ended up hearing about everything that happened with her and Jenard, and he was basically just checking up on her. And he basically ended up giving her cash and like letting her look like, look, I'm on your side, and like whatever you want me to do, like, look, I'm here and I'm loyal to you. And he ended up telling Shanti that Kendra from Southwood not really fucking with Diamond and what he got going on with that whole fentanyl shit. So now that we know Shanti is going to tell Raheem like, look, get cool with CBI, stay cool with him. And get intel, and just bring it back to me. And we also know that boy Raheem trying to get on with Shanti, but Shanti giving that nigga the cold shoulder like, nah, nigga, this ain't that game. Heard of Tommy and JP, end up saying like, look, I was in handcuffs for an hour, like, what the fuck happening? And Tommy ended up saying like, look, the cops is on high alert right now because one of theirs got hit last night. And we know that boy JP ended up asking Tommy like, do you got anything to do with that shit? Tommy said, don't worry about it. But the nigga JP put his head down. He knew damn well he had something to do with that shit. DMac ended up walking inside of the room, and basically Tommy told JP that, look, me and DMac is out of CBI because Jenard tried to, get him killed. And that nigga JP was mad as fuck about this shit because we know that Jenard fucking shot the nigga DMac, a couple seasons ago. So Tommy ended up giving DMac some work and basically telling him like, look, we got 24 hours to sell this shit. So, go fuck with Marshall and go see what he on, get the shit out in the streets and let motherfuckers know that we don't fuck with CBI no more. And we also know when Tommy had left, he also ended up telling JP like, look, I know what you're thinking. Do not go after fucking Jenard. And when I seen this shit right here and I seen JP's face of how mad he was, I'm like, man, he gonna do something, man. So coming over here, Jenard and the RDs, he's talking to, the people that essentially flipped when this whole leadership just went in shambles. They wasn't fucking with him anymore and they ended up leaving CBI. And, Jenard basically giving them orders saying like, look, this motherfucker Tommy Eaton gotta go. And they wasn't really fucking with this nigga because they ain't forget what happened to Lil K, in the previous season when Jenard had ended up, taking him out. So then the boy Raheem ended up walking in and, Jenard ended up dapping him up and telling him like, look, he was a real nigga. He stayed when y'all motherfuckers had left. And Raheem ended up saying like, you look, all leaders make mistakes and it's their job to, learn from the mistakes. So then we end up getting the news from JoJo and he ended up telling Jenard like, yeah, the big man get out. King Kilo, nigga get out today. And Jenard tried to dap the nigga up, but JoJo really still wasn't fucking with Jenard like that. And we know when everybody had left, this nigga Jenard had took a snort out of that shit, and the nigga Raheem ended up seeing that shit, and this nigga Jenard just down bad, man. So coming over here to DMac and Marshall, DMac ended up pulling up the Marshall crib with the work that Tommy had gave him, and he ended up telling Marshall like, look, I got this work from Tommy, like, fuck CBI, like, nigga, we can start our own shit with them. And we know Marshall wasn't fucking with that shit. Then Marshall ended up telling DMac, like, Jenard finna take Tommy top spot and everything and go back to normal. So DMac had to remind this nigga, like, man, they tried to get us killed. But Marshall ended up telling DMac, like, nah, nigga, they tried to get you killed. And Marshall ended up telling that nigga, like, look, I'm not finna fuck up my shit for your crazy ass uncle. Like, nigga, I gotta pay my mom rent, so, fuck all that shit. And DMac ended up going off of this nigga, telling this nigga, like, man, your mom gotta work 3 jobs, so I don't know how the fuck you supporting her. You still in the mob. And Marshall said, fuck that, ended up grabbing the bag, throwing it at that nigga DMac and telling that nigga to get the fuck out. So as we come over here to Tommy and Shanti, Tommy ended up putting the product on the table and basically asking Shanti to see what's in because this is directly from Che. And like if you work with me, and we got our seat in with him. And we all know that this is essentially what Shanti wanted. And then Shanti ended up telling Tommy about Kendra and how, she not fucking with that whole deal that CBI got going on with the whole fentanyl being pushed through the prison. So Tommy ended up telling Shanti, like, look, I can't go talk to Kendra and, see what she's about. And, Shanti ended up telling Tommy, like, look, we can go fuck with Rojas and see what he feel about this shit too also. So, Rojas don't fuck with Diamond and, CBI. Back over here to Raheem and Jenard. Raheem ended up asking this nigga Jenard if he back on that shit. And the nigga Jenard ended up getting mad and telling this nigga to shut the fuck up. He don't know shit. And the boy JP come out of nowhere and steal on this nigga Jenard. I'm talking about, like, got this nigga like a good 4 times telling this nigga to, stay the fuck away from my son. Like, this ain't what you want, dog. So the nigga Raheem ended up telling this nigga Jenard, like, you got put down by that zesty motherfucker because you on that shit again. And this nigga Jenard hit this nigga with the ghost head tap and told this nigga to shut the fuck up and drive the car, bitch. I'm like, shit. Now, coming over here to this scene real quick, just summarizing this whole scene. Now, basically, Tommy is trying to get back in with the Albanians. The Albanians really want to fuck with him. But, Shanti stepped in and, told the leader of the Albanians, her whole organization and everything that she got going on. And he was also impressed that a woman can do all this and had this going on for her organization. He essentially came to his senses and made that deal. So Maria basically tells everybody in this scene right here that, you know, she's pregnant, they're going to be having a kid soon, and, you know, JP and everybody just congratulating her. And we know that Tommy said that they're going to be putting more men on the door just in case Jenard try to try some shit, you know, because of JP and what he did to Jenard. And we also know that DMac had ended up telling Tommy about the whole shit that happened with Marshall, and he told Tommy that basically Marshall was out. So as we come over here to Che, he's still trying to figure out why this nigga or Take's cousin is still in jail. And we know Sang has a plan because he ended up getting the evidence on Stacy Marsh from Bobby earlier in the video. And we know that Sang is going to try to get the whole Rico case thrown out, and he's going to essentially trying to get everything deaded just off of that. So he said, you know, we're not going to just focus on, you know, one thing. We can just get the whole Rico case thrown out, which will probably end up working because we know Ortega will be released from prison next episode. Man, so coming over here to Diamond, Jenard, and Kendra. Kendra ended up pulling up on these niggas, telling these niggas, like, look, I ain't working with y'all niggas no more. I'm about to go fuck with CVI. You know, like, I'm out. It's just business. So as she leaving, this nigga Diamond ended up pointing the gun, you know, through the fucking stairs she's walking up, and firing shots at her and end up killing her. And I'm like, man, this nigga Diamond and this bitch tweaking. So then after all this shit happened, this nigga Diamond ended up telling this nigga Jenard, like, look, since Kilo out, you go and tell this nigga Kilo that, you know, Tommy lied to all of us. He was trying to protect DMac, and he the reason that all this shit's going on right now. Hey, man, so this boy Diamond on some whole different time, bro. This nigga drunken on demon time. Coming over here to the worst hitter in power fucking history, man. This nigga tried to, you know, end up killing Maria. Telling her, you know, hand me the keys. So she ended up busting a shot at this nigga. Shoots this nigga, man. She can get back in the motherfucking car, start that motherfucker up, and run this nigga over like at least four times at least. So after all that shit happened, she ended up calling Tommy. So coming over here to this nigga Big, he ended up getting a drop on Tommy, but this nigga ended up just talking and ended up shooting at the ground. Like, man, if you didn't got the drop on this nigga, man, lay this nigga out. So as this nigga Vic is shooting on the ground, Bobby DeFranco and his partner come off from the woodworks to stop this whole shit, and they end up, you know, putting Vic in the back of the car. Bobby DeFranco ended up walking up on Tommy, you know, threatening him, telling him, like, look, you're not gonna get away with this shit. You gonna rot in prison for the shit that you did. And we know Tommy ended up telling him, like, good luck. And we also know that Tommy ended up getting a phone call from Maria about the whole fucking parking lot shit. Now coming over here to Diamond, as he walks inside Shanti's boxing gym, he's basically telling Shanti, like, look, I know you're trying to make a move on Kendra, but you know, that whole Southfield shit, it's dead because Kendra's gone. And we also know that Shanti is basically telling Diamond, like, look, you here to finish me off too? And you know, Diamond ended up saying no. And we know Shanti's standing 10 tones down. And we also know that, you know, Diamond tried to, you know, get into Shanti's head and tell her, like, look, I know how it is to be Tommy's partner. You sit back and you just shut the fuck up. Now Shanti ended up flipping that back on Diamond and telling Diamond, like, look, you need to watch out for Jenard. He ain't stopping trying to take you out since you got out of prison. It was his plan the whole time. And we all know that the boy Diamond was looking kind of hesitant. Like, no, I don't believe that shit. But we all know as viewers that this shit is 100% true. Now, as we come over here in the hospital with Miguel, Tommy, and Maria, we know that they're there for all the shit that's happening with Maria and to check and see if the baby is still okay. And the baby is definitely okay. And Miguel ends up revealing information like, look, I know who this hitter is. He tried to take me out. He's a part of the Marquez cartel. So now that leads to Maria, you know, telling them two, like, look, you two should be on the same side because y'all are essentially fighting the same enemy and got the same goal. Now, as we come over here to King Killer, we know he got us feet in the water. My nigga just got the joint, and we know Jenard ended up pulling up on him to get a word with him. Now, we know that earlier in the video that the nigga Diamond told this nigga, you know, since Kilo, I'll go up there, talk to him, and convince that Tommy was the one that lied to us all to, you know, to protect DMac. And, you know, at first, Kilo really wasn't trying to hear that shit, bro. But, you know, eventually, Jenard ended up, you know, getting him to reason with him. And he told me, look, I can go find this nigga DMac, and we can take him out right now. I got a location and everything. Now, as we come over to the scene with Miguel, Tommy, and Shanti, Tommy basically telling everybody, like, look, I don't got the cash for, you know, the whole re-up with fucking Che that I'm supposed to be giving that motherfucker. And we know Shanti ended up pulling out the stack of cash that she had got earlier in the episode from Raheem. But Shanti ended up telling them, like, look, if I'm gonna give y'all my cash and my soldiers, y'all gotta let me get a face-to-face meet with Che in order for this shit to work. And we all know the look on their eyes, you know, they don't really have a choice at this point but to play ball. Coming over to the most anticipated scene of the whole episode, we got King, Kilo, Jenard, and JoJo finally pulling up on JP trying to get, you know, DMac's location. But the boy JP is holding it up strong and he ain't giving out no info. So King Kilo ended up grabbing JP's phone, putting it up to her face to get the face recognition. And he tried to look for DMac's name, which is saved under Darnell Gibbs, but King Kilo does not know his government. So we know King Kilo has seen Tommy's name inside the contact list. And he ended up calling Tommy, you know, while Tommy's inside the boxing gym and basically telling Tommy, like, look, your nephew got to pay what he did to my nephew. So as Tommy is on the phone, we know the nigga JP had ended up yelling Jenard's name out. Basically to let Tommy know that the motherfucker is here and you should know exactly who was behind all this shit. And we know the boy JP was talking this shit like, if you a man, you should kill me yourself. The nigga Jenard ended up giving JP 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, man. So as it fades to a black screen and comes back, we know that Kilo was not, you know, in the whole coalition. He wanted to get out and say he get DMac himself. So this high ass nigga Jenard ended up popping Kilo and his man. So I'm like, man, this nigga Jenard he ain't making it the legacy. And that was it, you know, as far as the recap for this week, man. This episode was another great episode. I've been saying that like after every recap I done did so far. They definitely stepped their game up this season, bro. This is gonna go down as one of the best power seasons in history, bro. And you know, I'm just anticipated to see and wait what the hell gonna happen to Jenard, and I want to see the reaction to DMac. So with all that being said, man, you know, continue to like, reshare all the content that I'm dropping out, man. We only got 2 more episodes left, and we will be having a break after episode 9. So, you know, I'll be back probably later on this week. Y'all just stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm Los, and I'm signing out.